Good morning, everyone. A very good morning to one and all, and welcome to the next lecture on Java. From the last 4 or 5 classes, we are discussing about threads and multi-threads concept in Java. In today's session, we are going to cover the remaining methods which are not covered in the previous sessions. So, the previous session, we have covered the methods such as start method, stop method, and then sleep method. And this is the program what we have written in the previous class. In today's session, we are going to see about join method and suspend method. If there is still time, we can go for the synchronized blocks and we can see about wait and notify methods. Okay, so let us take a new Java program in order to understand the things somewhat better. If I want to create a thread, see here, if I want to create a thread, I need to extend thread class. I need to extend thread class. And within this one, we need to maintain the run method, that is public void run. And within the run, we can write whatever we want to write. And whatever we write within the run method will be executed as a thread, right? So here, for instance, let us consider for int I equal to something called as 1 and I less than or equal to 5 and I plus plus. So I'm assuming that, not assuming, and I'm writing the code in such a way that this is going to print the numbers from, right, this is going to print the numbers from 1 to 5. Okay, so similarly, let us take one more thread. Let us take one more thread where the name of this one is class B. And here, instead of printing from 1 to 5, I'm going to print the numbers between 6 to 10. Okay, so there are two threads here. So what we have to do, I'm going to write, for example, my class name is Q, and inside this class, I'm going to write the main method in Java, public static void main, and string args, right? So within this main method, okay, so there are two threads in our program, that is the first thread in class A and the thread in class B. So we need to bring both the threads into new method. So if I want to bring both the threads into new method, what I have to do? I have to create an object for both the classes. A space t1 equal to new A. So by doing so, we are bringing the code inside A into new state. So as always studied that there are 5 states of a thread: new, ready, running, waiting, and dead state. So we have to bring the thread into new state and we have to bring the thread into ready state. After bringing the thread into ready state, it is taken care by the CPU. And when it is in running state, we can move the thread into dead state by using the stop method, or we can move the thread into waiting state by using sleep, join, suspend, and wait methods. Okay, at the same time, we can move the thread from waiting state to ready state by using notify, notify all, and resume methods. Okay, I think you all are very familiar with these names because we are studying about these three names from the last three classes. Okay, so keep this in your mind. If I want to create a thread in program, I need to extend a thread class or I need to implement a runnable interface. And within the body of the class, I have to maintain a method called as public void run. And within the run, we can write the code whatever we want. Okay, once after writing like this, if I want to bring this thread into new state, what I have to do? I have to create an object for that class. For example, b space t2 equal to new b. So now there are two threads. Okay, there are two threads inside the new state. Inside the new state. Now If I want to bring those threads into ready state, okay, if I want to bring both the threads into ready state, what I have to do? I need to call the start method over the threads. So if I call t1.start, now the thread is going to be moved from new state to ready state. And when we call t2.start, then again the t2 thread will be moved into the ready state. Okay, so here, here, let us see, let us do something here. What I am doing here is, I am going to use the method t1.join. Okay, t1.join. So if I run the code, for example, if I save and if I run the code, the main method in this program lies in class Q. So I have to save the code as q.java. Right, I have to save this code as q.java. Okay, so after saving the code as q.java, if I compile the code, I am going to get a compile time error. Why we are getting this compile time error? See here. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to get a compile time error, or I'm going to get an interrupted exception. Right. Okay. So as we discussed in the previous class, whenever we use the sleep method or the join method or the suspend method or the wait method, we are interrupting the execution of a thread which was in the running state. When we interrupt a thread which was in the running state, then an exception of interrupted exception, sorry, then an object of interrupted exception class will be generated by the JVM. So that object will try to find whether there is any handling code in our program. If there is no handling code in the entire program, then again the object reaches the JVM. So when it reaches the JVM is going to report an exception. Okay, so what we have to do in the yesterday's class, we had it is said that so if you want to handle an exception, first what we have to do, we need to first identify that exception. Okay, we need to first identify that exception, and then we need to handle that exception. Okay, we need to identify and then we need to handle that exception. So what is the thing which is used to identify that exception? For example, we are getting an error at t1.join. Okay, we are getting an exception at t1.join. In order to identify such exception, okay, in order to identify such exception, we need to place this code in the in a block and then give the try keyword. Now, if there is any exception which was raised by this join method, will be identified by this try block. And whenever we use this try block, we have to maintain the catch block. So we all know that the name of the exception is interrupted exception. Just a second. Right, interrupted exception. So I need to maintain a catch block like this. Now, if this join method raises an exception, that will be identified by this try keyword, and it will be handled, and that exception will be thrown to the catch, and this catch will handle that exception. So we are going to get the desired output. Okay, now let us see the output of this code. If I run the code, there are no errors or there are no exceptions. And if I compile the code, see here, what I got the output here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here, the thread 1 has been executed first. You can run the code for any number of times. Okay, you can run the code for any number of times. Okay, you can run this code for any number of times you want. You are going to get 1 to 10 numbers. How it is possible? 1 to 5 are going to be printed by this T1. 6 to 10 are going to be printed by T2. But when we say T1 dot join, when we say T1 dot join, that T1 thread will be executed first. Only after the T1 thread went into the dead state, then only T2 thread will start executing. Okay, let us see. Let us have a comment lines here, and let us see. If I have written slash star followed by star slash, then it will not be compiled by the Java compiler. So if we execute the program like this, and if we compile and if we run the code, you can see here, you will not get the desired output. See here, the output is 1, 6, 2, 3, 7, 8, 4, 5, 9, 10. And if you run it again, you may get a different output, 6, 1, 7, 2, 8, 9, 3, something. And if you run it again, you may get a something different output, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 4, 5, 9, 10. Okay, so both the threads T1 and T2 are in the ready state, and it is up to CPU. The CPU can execute any one thread or the couple of threads simultaneously, or the T2 first and T1 next, or the T1 first and T2 next. It is up to the compiler. But whenever we maintain this join method here, we are intimating the JVM to execute the thread T1. Okay, after the successful execution of T1, then we will allow the remaining threads to be executed. So if you run and compile this code, okay, T1 thread will be executed first. That's why we are getting the output of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's why we are getting the output of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can run the code any number of times. The output will not change because there are only 2 threads. Okay, there are only 2 threads. Where on T1 we call the join, right? Where on T1 we call join. For example, if I have one more thread, let us assume C space T3 equal to new C. Okay, C space T3 equal to new C and T3 dot start. Okay, T3 dot start. So now in the code I have 3 threads. In the code I have 3 threads. See here, this thread 3 is going to print the numbers from 11 to 15. Okay, 11 to 15. So if I compile this code, just a second. Yeah, C. Okay, we have to take it as capital C, right? So I compile the code, there are no errors, and if I run the code, you can see here, we got the output as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the output of thread 1, right? Which is the output of thread 1, and it has printed 6, 11. 6 is the output of thread 2 and 11 is the output of thread 3, 7, 12, 8, 13, 9, 14, 10, 15. So among the 3 threads T1, T2 and T3, on T1 only we call the join method. Because we call the join method, it has been executed first. And on T2, T3, we did not call any method. That's why T2 and T3 has been executed simultaneously, maybe by using the round robin algorithm. Okay, if you execute it again, you may get a different output, but the output of T1 will not get changed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be common, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be common because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 has been printed by the thread T1, where on the T1 thread we called the join method. So the output will not change for thread 1, but thread 2 is going to print 6 to 10 and thread 3, T3 is going to print 11 to 15. Those 2 threads may print the output in different ways. You can see here it has printed 11, 12, 6, 7, 13, 14, 8, 9, 15, 10. And if you run it again, you may get a different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11, 7, 12, 8, 9, 13, 10, 14, 15. Okay, so the output of the first 5 numbers is not changing because we had called the method T1.join. So when we say T1.join, okay, when we say T1.join, we are suspending the thread depending upon a condition. Okay, so that is the use of this join method. Now we had seen that uh, threads can be suspended in three ways. Okay, threads can be suspended in three ways, depending upon time and depending on a condition, and the third one is that unconditionally. Okay, so among these three, we have completed suspending a thread depending upon time, and then suspending a thread depending upon a condition. Okay, and then we are going to look at the how to suspend a thread unconditionally. So this is the theory what way we have studied in the couple of classes ago. So we can bring a thread from running to waiting state in three ways, depending upon time, depending upon a condition, or unconditionally. So depending on time, we can bring a thread by using sleep method, and depending on a condition, we can bring by using join method, and unconditionally we use suspend method. Okay, so when we use sleep method, how can we bring back the thread from waiting to ready after the time is up? For example, if we have taken 2000, so the thread will wait in the waiting state for 2 seconds. After the 2 seconds is over, the thread will automatically move from waiting state to ready state. And then what happens if we suspend a thread by using join method? So after the condition is satisfied, when we call t1.join in the previous program, when the t1 got executed successfully, then the remaining threads are going to be executed. So here, when the given condition, when the t1 is executed, that is the condition. When t1 is executed, then it is going to execute the remaining things. So depending upon a condition, we are going to suspend the threads. And the third one is that unconditionally. So what is the method we have to use when we want to suspend a thread unconditionally? So when we want to suspend a thread unconditionally, we have to use the method suspend. So when we use the method suspend, then in order to bring back the thread from waiting to ready state, we need to call the resume method. So unless and until we call the resume method, the thread will never be back into the ready state. Okay, so let us see here. Let us see in the same code. Let us assume there are three threads, which is going to print 1 to 5, and the next one is going to print 6 to 10, and the third one is going to print 11 to 15. Okay, so among the three threads, so in order to, yes, I am removing this code, I will write it again. So in order to bring all the threads into, right, in order to bring all the threads into new state, I am going to create an object for, right, I am going to create an object for all these three classes. Now the thread T1, the thread T2, okay, and the thread T3 are in the new state. So what I have to do in order to bring them into the ready state, I need to call a start method, start, t1.start. Now T1 will be moved into the ready state. If I want to bring the T2, I need to call t2.start. So T2 will be moved into the new state. When I want to bring T3, I can call t3.start. Okay, so now all the three threads are in the ready state. Okay, all the three threads are in the ready state. Now see here, what I am doing here is t1 dot suspend. t1 dot suspend. So if I save and compile the code, I'm going to get an error, right? So suspend in thread has been depreciated and marked for removal, t1 dot suspend. See here. Just use the suspend here and compile the code. Okay, leave it. So here, let us use the thread suspend method here. Now let us see what will happen if we run the code. So see here, if I run the code, okay, if I run the code, I'm going to get an error. Sorry, I'm going to get the output as 6, 7. Let us see the output first. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So here we had designed the program in such a way that T1 thread is going to print the numbers from 1 to 5. T2 thread is going to print the numbers from 6 to 10, and the T3 thread is going to print the numbers from 11 to 15. But if you run the code, we are getting the output of T2 and T3. We are not getting the output of T1. Why we are not getting the output of T1? See here, we brought all the threads into new state, and then we moved all the threads into ready state. Okay, now from ready state to running state, it is up to the CPU. Okay, so in ready state, we call T1.suspend. When we call T1.suspend, the T1 thread will be moved into the waiting state. It will not come into the ready state until and unless we call the resume method. Okay, so for example, if we call resume method here, then it will be back. So in the previously, we don't call any resume method. That's why it is still waiting in the waiting state. When it is waiting in the waiting state, T2 and T3 has completed its execution. That's why we are getting the output from the number 6 to 15 in different order. Because T2 and T3 may execute by using the shortest job first, or first come first serve, or round robin. It is up to them. Okay. So now T1 thread is not going to be executed. So if we want to bring back the T1 thread, we need to call the T1.resume method. So if you do so, and if you compile the code, okay, if you compile the code and if you run the code, if you want to avoid that errors, go for the try and catch block, right? So if you run the code, then you are going to get the output as 6, 7, 6, 7. Why we are getting 6 and 7? That T1 thread has been in the waiting state at the time T2 has been executed. Okay, 6, 7, 1, 8 something, and last 14, 15. So if you run it again, you may get a different output. See here, 1, 6, 11, 2, 12, 7, 13, 3, 14, 18, 15, 4, something. Okay, so this is how we can suspend a thread unconditionally. There is no condition or there is no time. We just suspended the thread. So if we don't call this method, that is the resume method, that thread will never be back into the ready state. Okay, so this is the way where we can suspend a thread on time, on condition, and unconditionally. Okay, so if anybody is having the doubts, and if anybody is having the doubts so far, you can raise your hands and you can ask the doubt. Okay, if there are no doubts, we will continue in the next class. Okay, so in the next class, we are going to see the differences between a synchronized block and a non-synchronized block in threads. And at the same time, we are going to look at thread priorities. Okay, thread priorities, and what is how we can run the threads in background. We are going to see how we can run the threads in background also. So here we are running the threads in the front end, but we can also run the same threads in the back end. So I will explain how we can make the threads to run in the back end. There are some simple methods in thread class. For setting priority, we go for the set priority method. Okay, so and for running a thread in the background, we go for one more method. So I will explain each and every method. So in the next class, we are on Monday, we are going to concentrate on synchronized and non-synchronized blocks in threads, and then wait and notify all methods. And then we are going to see how we can run the threads to run in the backend. So I will explain each and every method. So in the next class, we are on Monday, we are going to concentrate on synchronized and non-synchronized blocks in threads, and then wait and notify all methods. And then and along with that, we are going to see about thread priorities. Okay, thread priorities, etc. Okay, so I'm going to end today's session, and I really thank each and every listener for being here, and hope you all understand the life cycle of a thread, and then you all understood how we can suspend a thread based upon time, condition, and unconditionally. Please remember the names; these are very important during examinations. If you are perfect in thread, if you are perfect in multi-threading, definitely you are going to get 8 marks in final examinations. Okay, so be perfect, and still if you have any doubts, you are welcome now. So if you don't have any doubts, I'm going to close the session. Okay, then I'm going to close the session for today. So we will meet you in the Monday session. Thank you very much.